Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. Joining us today is a gentleman that very multifaceted. He helps in the construction industry, but he also helps in the spiritual side of things as well. And he's also our Professional of the Year. Let me tell you about him. He has written an AIA-approved continuing education course online, available at the Licensing Institute of Michigan. You can also find it at his website, JRNHomeDesign.com, for architects and builders in Michigan, illustrating critical areas and ways for eliminating waste, seeking truth in the development of plans for construction. Saves a lot of money, by the way. He's also produced a book called The Love of the Father, which illustrates the meaning and foundation of happiness, and 5 divinely written tangible truths to help support one in the building of a personal faith for happiness, abundance, and life. You can find that book at Amazon KDP, where you can read it for free, or check out the website, theloveofthefather.com. He's Jeff Rice, and he joins us once again to share more on those topics. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great today, Steve, and thank you again to all the listeners and to the Professional Business Network for having me on the show again today. I hope this show will provide a little truthful insight, uplifting everyone, and tangibly inspiring with simple observations of divinely written tangible truth for hope, for faith, for strength and enthusiasm, for motivation and adherence to the truth, which is very important for pretty much everything good, considering deception or error never rewarded anyone with anything but confusion, misguidance, pain, suffering, and loss. And as you did in recapping the last 2 messages that we have provided, and that you mentioned, related to the benefits of seeking the truth in design found in the AIA online course for greater value in construction. And of course, we mentioned that was inspired by Thomas Jefferson's through the fact that our first impressions of law and design is never correct due to the presence of error or deception. Or in the book, The Love of the Father, for designing and building a personal home on the foundation of truth. And we list the 5 tangible truths for faith and happiness that we could clearly see a common denominator in both tutorials, recognizing that there really is a dire need for seeking the truth and adhering to the principles of truth for life and happiness. We started the podcast initially talking about the online course and the results it provided, designing in a way to seek efficiency and truth, working collaboratively in the development of architectural drawings and the building of a structure of a home, noting that this process for building on budget by design was fully credited to the inspired by our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson's initial struggles and battle and effort to seek a truthfully written law or word for our divinely influenced Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, or a plan for the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness for us all. I actually learned much later, after following their example for simply pursuing the truth in design and law, that they actually turned to the Lord's truthful word in ways found in the sacred scriptures, particularly the book of Leviticus, where God commanded Moses to proclaim the 10 Commandments and the foundational framework of our Constitution to all the nations with adherence for the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, so to be fruitful and multiply, which we can clearly see has been fulfilled. However, at that time, years ago, I developed my practice. My understanding was pretty much focused on their work ethic and not the far-reaching reality of just how omnipresent the truth is around us and how critically important the truth really is needed for all directions in life, which is why I published the book, The Love of the Father, as a tutorial illustrating these 5 tangible truths for the building of one's faith and abundance and true happiness. In both cases, we see a focus on the benefits of the truth. There is a tangible understanding and the validity for the knowledge of the truth and the need for adherence to it for abundance in life. In fact, in the first example of the 5 tangible truths, we witness the perfectly truthful written law uniquely created for every strand of DNA for life and the living cells to follow for its very existence, and to not deviate to another false direction from the abundance planned for it. requirement for adherence to the truthful law for its life is deeply understood and is a concrete example for all tangible, truthfully written, divinely given, or inspired laws that come with the exact same need and call for adherence to it for one's existence in the truth for life.
Thank you for sharing that. And I've said this before, and I'm very transparent about things. In the past few years, call it 3 years, I pilot on one thing, the truth. And I really do mean that. And I'm not saying that because we're talking about that today, but I believe that the truth is everything. You can't dispute it. It is what it is. And I feel truth will set us free. So I can definitely see the examples here and the benefits of designing a home plan, working for the truth or better directions based on further research and development, removing waste and what's unnecessary in the building of a house. And I must agree that knowing the truth will set you free. It's the same thing in building a person as well. And I love the analogy that you've gave examples in the past that when you build a house using the principles of truth, you eliminate waste. It's done the right way. So it's interesting, comparing house building to building a better person. Our existence should be based on the truth as well for guidance in life. So considering the truth related to design and construction, my experiences and some of the experience of the areas that you outlined, the truth clearly sets somebody free from going in a wrong direction or having a financial burden or over designing or coming up with less value, potentially running into total loss due to debt. So if somebody cannot afford a house they plan on building and they built it due to misdirection and unforeseen overages, I suppose there's real consequences. A lot of stress trying to hold on. Now, when you think about the right way to do it, pretty much goes with the building of ourselves as well. When you think of it, compare the two. We really do need truth for guidance in our lives to not be over debt so we can be set free.
Wow, that's perfectly said. That is the point there. The truth does set you free, but it brings abundance and it does all of this. And that's why this is a real thing for sure. Being underwater or over debt or burdened by debt is not a good place to be. Honestly, the two messages in the AIA online continuing education course and the love of the Father are completely related regarding the need for the truth when designing anything. A house plan, a law for direction in life, or the choices one makes for the building of our lives, and the connecting words that tie both those tutorials together is left by our founding fathers, who I followed, who scripturally founded their work on the truth, were humbly critical of their work in the seeking of the truthful law, and designed and additionally called for the adherence to the truth for the pursuit of happiness. In a similar way, the love of the Father and our loving Father sets a path and a foundation of tangibly written divine truths for strength, understanding to pursue happiness. But it's with adherence to the truth for life. So to be set free of debt and deception, just as he promised from the beginning by his word, which is truthfully written law because it was written down prior and has clearly been fulfilled today. Remembering always that there is a real war between the truth and a lie, raging every second. Finding things of truth to hold on to and really celebrating so that you're going to grow in abundance for life is critical. Especially noting consequences due to misdirection are a fact of life, and discovering them or avoiding them is important for securing true happiness for oneself or others.
So I'm going to be transparent here, and I can relate to everything you're saying there, Jeff. The reason I say that the truth will set you free, and the truth is because I dealt with those who were deceptive.
Yeah.
And truth be told, no pun intended, it was a real eye-opener. It was a big surprise. And that's where my car changed. And I turned the wheel in the direction of just piloting by truth, even removing emotion. Truth is the truth. But I guess there's, I think we've said before that we don't question the deception. we always question the truth, but the deception is a big thing. And I guess in some cases, we don't realize trouble or the benefit of the truth until either success or failure comes to light, maybe with deception. And if it's the truth, it's a joyful light indeed, in place of a spotlight on us in error or disappointment. Just don't want to be there at the end for sure.
No, you don't want to be. You want to be in the light of celebrating it.
Sure.
And but personally speaking, related to home designing, I mean, in the thought process of how you got to get to the truth, I've never initially been able to design anything on budget with the first pass or rendition, and I've always needed to rethink things, seeking and holding on to tangible truth for direction to proceed with. For example, excavator says, Jeff, get rid of the fill. Don't do that. Move your house back here, and I can lower that excavation number by 25,000, or maybe it's something. So I learn these truths, and then I hold on to them, and you do it 37 times related to all the people involved in a house project, and what are you going to get? You're going to get an abundance, but you had to find it. And so all plans require some adjustments and for savings or value after careful planning and research. And this is where the pursuit of truth, planning, or home design is beneficial and exciting. But I will say, finding efficiency or savings and abundance, guided by the truth, is always a great light to be in. From earlier shows, we witnessed the abundance and prosperity that came forth, working in this capacity, collaborating with trade and suppliers, seeking the truth for abundance. And there were many examples where, we saved some guy $250,000 on $1 million home and doubled the size of his home by adding a basement, or cutting $223,000 out of a complicated $600,000 remodel, or removing 350 square feet out of a house plan and making every room bigger. Those are things you have to look for. We have to seek the truth. And so after years of working and realizing the power and the benefits of seeking the truthful word, as illustrated in the online course tutorial, Finding Extraordinary Value, the reality of the importance for adhering to a truthful word or law became equally imperative. The website and the book, The Love of the Father, and looking at the 5 tangible truths that are there, in those written words, are all together like a hand reaching out to hold and secure us for life. By the power of a perfectly truthful world, we live in a perfect world of law, given for life, starting with that example in the DNA, found in every single cell in creation. One can plainly see this is a perfect word and law for life that requires all living things to adherence, and the importance for the law for life should be pretty clear. And we are actually commanded to do the same as individuals for abundance in life, related to all of God's truthful laws for direction. For they are given out of love to choose and celebrate life, just like every cell is required to adhere to the DNA word for life and its abundance, being fruitful and multiplying. The call for adherence to the truthfully written law is clearly one of the most commonly expressed phrases in all of Scripture, stated over and over in many different ways, some with warnings and some stated with loving encouragement to do so for life and abundance. Yet either way, we know the truth brings life and deception brings misfortune. But it should be clearly noted, joyful adherence to the truth by God's grace is the key to crushing deception's ugly head. Coming to the knowledge of the truth and being held or surrounded by the reality of those 5 tangibly, divinely written truths should give joyful strength to know the Lord is literally present with us and to follow him easily in the midst of difficulty. I think coming to the understanding that the Lord is truth, wisdom, life, and love, to acknowledge him and these extraordinary, powerful characteristics, further understanding his tangible word is factual, and understanding should clearly strengthen us to be guided to do the best there is in wherever we are in life. And there are many passages that illustrate this one saying. like acknowledge him in all thy ways, and he will direct thy path. Acknowledging the truth, acknowledging wisdom, acknowledging life and love are pretty good things to hold on to. But there are many others, such as, for I am the Lord your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, do not fear, I will help you. Clearly a powerful word and law for seeking truth, for strength, to get through good times or tough times.
I know there's always different ways to look at this, and I suppose the consequences come up, unfortunately, learning by mistake, which that's where I learned through deception, and that's why I gravitate on the truth. But are the many different points of view all acceptable here when you look at the truth and its adherence to it for life?
I mean, are there many different points of view? Are they all acceptable when looking at the truth? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for things of preference or interest, where consequence is a function of known want and not a function of needed perfection or necessity for one's life, such as, I want to add gables and make my roof complex because I know I like the way it looks. I know it's going to cost me $75,000 more, but I don't care. Then that is totally acceptable in terms of truth related to general interest. However, when it comes to things of necessity, exactness, such as those trusses absolutely need to dimensionally fit perfectly without error on the walls below, and foundation dimensions provided, that's an entirely different level of truth that requires absolute adherence out of necessity. Where perfection is needed, the truth cannot be compromised. Clearly, heaven and the Lord is perfect. Nothing imperfect will ever enter it. For this, I would say one needs to start with the realization of the hard facts, for understanding that we live in a perfect world of law, and that apart from a truthfully written divine law that clearly offers direction for life and abundance, there is absolutely nothing but error and imperfection, which isn't good. Second, that the truth is not undefined or some random illusion, which ironically is what a lie is, and repeatedly, in many ways, tries to confuse people by having less than the needed understanding, such as phrases that come to pass like, well, we live in a less than a perfect world, or what's it all for anyway? Go do what you want. Or what does truth and happiness really mean? Do whatever you want. A lie doesn't exist. It offers phantom directions that leads people everywhere and to nowhere. If we believe deceptively that we live in a less than a perfect world or total lawlessness, and that lawlessness created everything out of nothing, and that the beauty of a rose or all of creation and its absolute perfection is an illusion, as well as the truth's real presence, then the only rationality one would have is the concept that there is no error or exactness or perfection, and that utter randomness is perfection, and all directions and mathematical improbability can create beauty and perfection in artistry and law. And that to me, is deception's dream, for it is the epitome of utter confusion. And so I have a question. Did the founding fathers believe this? Did they write a constitutional law by chance or randomness, rolling the dice, or what was initially in their minds and hearts? The answer is clearly no, and they all expressed this truth as well. They knew that the writing of a law required perfect truth and effort to create, avoiding deception that lives in the minds of men, or error and missteps for its creation. Additionally, apart from this understanding, with the belief that randomness created everything, we literally destroy our chances for the dedication and the focus needed and the effort or understanding and the power and the strength to seek and also adhere to things of truth that are required for abundance in life. Just as Jesus Christ said, we must enter through the narrow door, not the road wide and random that leads to failure and deception that deception lays out for us. However, it has been this way from the very beginning, And there are those 5 tangible, foundational, divinely written truths on the website, The Love of the Father, that with understanding and realization will give comfort and strength for adherence to the truth for life abundantly. And it's all His Word.
Got about a minute or so left. I want to throw this question to you. If you were to think about it, where did the first notion for the need of adherence to a truthful word, or plan for life in abundance originate?
Well, I would say that would be right from the perfect world created in the Garden of Eden, where the Lord commanded to adhere to His Word for life in abundance. Yet, deception was able to dumb down humanity, cause a disregard for the truth and the needed perfection, inflicting great suffering and death. It's a good example to remember daily since, as I said before, we too live in a perfect world of law, and our thoughts should align accordingly for life and abundance.
The website is called theloveofthefather.com. You can read it for free. I mean, sure. Amazon KDP. And I do want to share, this is a book that you started writing, and it started with wonderful artwork when you were a teenager.
14.
Yeah.
Well, at that time, I just wanted to show by design that roses, the shoreline, that it was built to an architectural scale, that something's going on here, folks. It was just an elementary way to say, here. But that grew. That message grew over time, where, yes, those are the obvious things. But what about the DNA commanding all this life? That's a perfect, truthful law. That is a law. It is a word of truth for life, and it calls for adherence. And then every passage in the Bible is calling for adherence. So there's a connection between the Word of God and the laws calling for adherence to the truth in the Word of God for our 10 Commandments or the Beatitudes or whatever, that is directly related to every single cell. Because apart from the truth, there's nothing.
The truth is it.
There you go.
And it took me time to realize that, I have to tell you. And I pilot by this, and I might have shared it before, but this is kind of my mantra. I didn't make this up. I found it somewhere, and it resonated. Love everyone, trust few, because not everybody operates from a place of truth.
No.
That's the reality, unfortunately. And do the right thing for all. The greater good, not just yourself. That's self-serving, but to make sure it's for all. But the truth is the truth. Wonderful having you on here again. Jeff, thank you for your thoughts on all of this, and looking forward next time we get together.
Thanks again, Steve.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.